All right, welcome everybody to the Call of the Void podcast with me, Voidwalker Joe, and a good buddy of mine, Zuke Zememee.
Welcome everybody. We got some information to dump on you today.
Yes, we do. We got a lot of good stuff to go through. I'm excited. We even talked about this yesterday. I'm still excited to talk about it again. It's always fun. So this is the first episode, and in the future, this will cover. This podcast will cover many other topics, not just leaks and stuff like that. But this will also be accompanied. This podcast will also be accompanied with its own solo video for anybody that wants to get leaks in like a shorter form, where they don't have to watch like a 3-hour podcast. So that'll come out either before or right after I put this podcast out. So I do got to edit it just a little bit, but yeah, we're going to be talking about a bunch of leaks that just came out over the past 3-4 days on
this past week or so. It's been incredible.
Yeah,
incredible information that's come out.
Yeah, so all of this can be found on the Pipeline Discord. So yeah, I'm not gonna provide any sort of like invite to the Discord. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the internet. Now, a little disclaimer before we get into stuff. All of this is going to be speculation based off of what we read and our best guesses of the knowledge that we have from us being around a little bit. So,
and for context, if you don't mind, Joe, there's a couple things you want to change or keep in mind. One, this stuff is coming out from Evocati, which a lot of these pods are under NDA. And then two, me and myself and Joe, we're not in Evocati. We're not under NDA currently, so we are actually free to speak about these topics. So this is not first-hand knowledge from us. This is stuff that we've heard from these leaks that we believe is credible. And there will be a decent amount of speculation in this discussion about these leaks.
Glad you brought that up, because I'm actually going to do something different here. I am not going to show the patch notes because I feel like that's a big no-no. But I will have...
You are not under NDA. You can share patch notes.
I know, but it's still kind of icky. There's a reason why no one does it. so that's all I'm going to say. Nobody, not one person does it. So, and I'm going to take that as a good sign, as maybe don't do it. just in case for the future, This has been doing the covering leaks like this is definitely something that I have in the past troubled with in my head, or have had trouble with in my head, as far as like whether I should do it, whether I shouldn't do it, and how much can I show, how much should I show, that kind of thing, and how does it affect me and my channel in the future, or my account in the future, does it disqualify me from ever in the future becoming Evocati, that kind of thing. There's a lot of like what ifs that I'm not really willing to play with here, but
I mean personally, for me, you Joe, but for me, I'm not currently in the NDA. If CIG wants to put me under NDA, I will stop talking about these things.
Same here. If
CIG, if you ever want to make me Evocati and put me under NDA, I will abide by the NDA. But until that day, I am not under that NDA, so I am under no obligation to not talk about these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. If I ever got an invite to Evocati, I would accept it in a heartbeat, and yeah, I would abide by the rules and everything. So, anyways. Yeah, so to get back on to what we were saying, yeah, a lot of it's going to be speculation, and we're going to get things wrong. and I've definitely gotten things wrong before talking about this in other videos. So if you guys have any other guesses as to what any of this could allude to, feel free to let us know in the comments and correct us. So, but I felt like it's a really good idea to have somebody else on here other than just me, because I definitely need another opinion about this kind of thing. So, and Zuke is good about keeping me on track sometimes. So
also there is a bit of information about how we could, a bit of context about how we could get things wrong. We could get things wrong because we see what they're doing, we recognize what they're doing, we could completely guess 100% right about what CIG is doing in these moments, but they could still change their mind 6 months, a year from now, and what we think they're doing, even though we're technically guessing correctly, could be completely wrong because they end up going in a different direction. So like we could be guessing wrong, we could be guessing right, either one of those cases, CIG could still change their mind. So
yes,
when I mean speculation, I mean true speculation here.
And something I've realized a little bit early on too is that so a lot of the stuff that you end up seeing that gets leaked are things that pertain to Squadron 42, are features that are part of there that aren't a part of the PU yet, and is something we have yet to see, if at all, depending on how things go in the future. There were I remember going, data mining stuff and getting really excited about things, and then realizing a lot of what I'm saying has to do with Squadron 42 and not about the PU, and I had to tamper my expectations. So there's a lot of stuff about aliens in there and what they're doing specifically. There's a lot of descriptions and stuff of what they're doing. And I realized that is not a part of the PU. That is specifically Squadron 42 stuff. And there's stuff about vehicles that don't really exist in PU that are exciting. So yeah, everything. Take everything with a grain of salt. So, okay, so we're gonna start with the patch notes here. I'm not gonna show them, but I will read them. Zuke, do you have a copy of them?
I do.
Okay. So, all right. So, first stuff says tricording is not possible anymore. I don't know what tricording is.
So, I can go ahead and jump on that one. Tricording is essentially you are using your vertical thrusters and your horizontal thrusters at the same time, and essentially you're going from, instead of going up this direction or turning this direction, pitch or yaw, you're actually doing both at the same time, and you're moving at a 45-degree angle to the corner of your screen.
Oh, okay.
While you're maneuvering.
I see.
And what that did is, because you're turning with this speed combined with this speed, you can actually turn faster combining them. And that's like a 5-second simple definition. You could actually turn way faster around and just jump on your opponent with it than you could with just one or the other. And there was a lot of debate in the community about, should that be okay, should that be allowed? And clearly CIG is heading towards the direction of no.
Yeah, and my opinion about these changes to the flight model and all of that is, as long as it's fun, then I don't really care what changes they make. If it makes the gameplay fun, combat's still fun, racing's still fun, and it all generally makes sense, then I'm okay. So, like, I can have some cons here and there with certain things, as long as overall the general consensus is that it's fun. So, I don't need it to be perfect or anything like that. But yeah, it says tricording is not possible anymore, and the strongest acceleration access is forward. And something I forgot to mention is that all of this is from patch notes from a 320 in the Evocati branch. So they had a couple play tests where all they did was test master modes within Arena Commander for a couple hours combined. So that's all it was. And I believe they're doing another test here with just racing this weekend.
Mhm.
Just the new racing maps. But moving forward, pitch and yaw cannot be combined anymore. Gladius agility was increased. Boost and regen were adjusted. And then it says Master Modes. Master Modes added press B to swap between nav and SCM mode. SCM allows higher capacitor regen rates, shields, and weapons, but restricts max speed. Thruster boost afterburner will temporarily allow you to extend beyond the SCM boundary. Nav allows high speed, but no shields and weapons. It also heavily restricts regen rates. Swapping between master modes is not immediate. There's a little grammar error there. Yeah, so all of these we kind of like, you know, we definitely were able to kind of guess all, like most of this here that they've been already talked about.
Well, also they did bring this up last year at CitizenCon and gave us basically an early demonstration of it, and went through a lot of this detail before. So none of this is new. The big thing that was new for this one that I saw, at least in the patch notes, was the tricording. They're giving that a try and seeing what people think of it.
Yeah.
The rest of it, they pretty much said it at CitizenCon, and it's sort of stayed the same way. So that's a good sign.
And right here, the picture that you're seeing is the new UI for nav mode, and after that, we'll talk about the SCM mode, which we can see the changes in the UI for that too.
You can see above the left pitch angle. You can see where it says nav mode.
Yes.
And we'll show other pictures later that will
right
say here. SCM mode.
Yes.
And that's how you'll know what mode you're in.
Mm-hmm. And then also you have on the right over here, you have the whole route, required fuel, group leader, members, aligned, and spool. That's right there. So.
And the bar that's filling up, we think, and maybe you thought something since last night, but I'm kind of under the impression that that is the spool up time, because again, they said the time to switch modes completely, or basically go into that nav mode, is not immediate.
Yeah.
My guess is that bar has to be filled up, and now you can go the full speed.
I think so too. I think that's the best guess as far as what that bar is. And this UI might even go through some changes before it hits PU as well. Because I think even though it's being tested right now, and it is still a part of, even when it makes it into the PU Arena Commander, it's still a part of experimental mode. So it doesn't mean that we're going to get this in the PU anytime soon. I feel like whatever's in experimental mode, it still is quite a ways away from making it into the PU. So some of the UI could change potentially. Because before, when you spooled up, you would see like a percentage, and you would have like it's really hard to kind of like visualize what it was, but you would see the little bars like kind of more in the middle of the screen, not really off to the side. That would tell you how much you've spooled up in like a percentage. And this this bar here.
Floyd,
go ahead.
My guess is that those percentages and those bars and maybe even that part of the UI will still be there, but for long distance jumps. Because remember, this is going to be a nav mode, and this is sort of like a quantum boost. You're not actually jumping to quantum; it's more of a quantum boost, right? So
what if that's the boost meter? What if that's telling you how much longer you have?
That's not the boost meter. I think that's the meter that was going to go into, or how long it takes for the quantum boost to start to take effect.
Because this bar doesn't show any text with it or any indication as to what it could be. So
correct.
it's either plain because they're not done with it, or it's plain because uh,
It's
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 something basic that you wouldn't
it's
need to know the
probably
information for.
yeah, it's probably plain because it's basic, in my guess. Like right here, you go into nav mode and you are basically charging up the nav mode because that's probably the pause.
Hmm.
Now again, it's a single picture. We don't know how long it took him to build it up to this point. We don't know how much more time until he builds up to the bar gets filled up, and we don't know really what that bar means once it gets filled up. My guess, in my opinion, is as soon as he gets up that bar filled up, he can take advantage of this full quantum boost of the Gladius. Because if you look at the bottom left, its shields are down, weapons are offline, and nav mode is on. So my guess is very much this is the spool getting ready to do the quantum boost. They
Yeah,
said that there was a delay, and that makes sense that that's going to be the UI, at least
yeah,
the early UI, to show the delay and show how much more time you got until that delay is completed.
and that delay wouldn't need anything special, any sort of special
Nope.
text or anything like that. It just simply shows you how far along it is with visual representation.
No, that's something you would do quite often, quite a lot. So it would make sense that it would sort of charge up, and once it's charged up, it may just go completely go away.
Hmm.
Uh, and keep in mind that doesn't go, and it's not a quantum jump, and that's why I'm saying the spool up time and the calibration piece. I bet that will still be there for longer term jumps.
And this could be nothing as well, but there's also a little tiny bar that's filled up that's underneath the nav mode text right there on the left. That could be some other bar that's like completely filled up that might function kind of similarly to this. If it could refer to some other, or it could just be like an underlying thing that's saying, "Hey,"
I think it's
it's just
underlying
separating
thing.
it. Yeah, but
Because
I
I think we
just
see the same bar in SEM mode in the later pictures.
yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. But it kind of sucks that we don't really see um any sort of like confirmation of a lot of this. There was video that was put out there of the SEM mode, someone flying around in SEM mode, but it's too bad we didn't see any sort of video that was leaked with anybody flying in nav mode, because that's the more interesting telling part to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so nav allows high speed but no shields and weapons. It also heavily restricts regenerates. Swapping between master modes is okay. We already went through this. Shield face health is stored in a buffer up to a certain ratio when going from SEM to nav. When going from nav to SEM, that buffer will be quickly pushed back into the faces.
Mm-hmm.
The shield face generation from the buffer cannot be interrupted by incoming fire, which is good. That last bit right there, the buffer
Yep.
cannot be interrupted by incoming fire. Gunnery changes. New aiming system is enabled. Combined fixed assist was removed. Fixed assist per gun was added, which I find pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Auto gimbal mode, instead of keeping the target in a 8-degree cone, you only need to keep the target roughly around your aim point, and your gimbals will track. When auto gimbals are not tracking, they will act like manual gimbals. Fixed mode, there is 1 pip per projectile speed group. You will see
Mm-hmm.
1 pip for your KLWEs and 1 for your GATS, which I don't know what those two mean, to be honest.
So give some more context really quick. Different projectiles travel at different speeds when you're fired from the weapon, right?
Yeah,
So their impact point on the ship that you're aiming at will be different. Now, for example,
that
if I
part I know.
fire,
That
yeah,
part I
so
understand. Yeah.
what happens is currently is it has to do one of three things. It has to either pick the fastest shot and give you a pip for that, pick the slowest shot and give you a pip for that, or the worst of both worlds and give a pip for the average. I don't really recall what it's doing right now in the live version of PQ. That's why most people tend to stick with all repeaters or all cannons, because that's the pip you're working with. That way they all have the same pip. But with this, you're going to have a pip per a weapon, which means if your weapons have different speeds, you can have multiple reticules that you can use or choose to use on the fly, which is, I think, is a great feature. I am so looking forward to this. It's not even funny. You can have a ship that has a bunch of repeaters and one large cannon, and you can lay on the repeaters and then swap to the other pip when you're ready to do cannons, for example.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to try it too. I'm not somebody who gets in and you know, dogfights a lot.
Mhm.
So there's a lot I need to learn in that area. So
It just makes ships more versatile. Like, for example, I've tried a couple builds where, like in a Vanguard series, I'd have a bunch of repeaters on the small nose piece, and then I would have one large cannon on the big nose gun, and I'd want to swap between them real time, which by hitting left click or right click, right, or fire group 1 and fire group 2, and I really can't do that right now because the pip doesn't. Because of the way the pips work, it's a lot harder to hit my shots and makes the ships not as flexible. Well, with this, a lot of these changes that you're seeing is them CIG pushing the ships to be more flexible, more unique, more manageable.
right.
And I love it.
Yeah, I've been waiting for them to kind of nail down all of this before I really dive into it and learn the ins and outs of it. So I'm excited for this to actually come out. So hopefully it doesn't stay into the experimental modes for too long. All right, moving on. Let's see. Manual gimbal mode now also has fixed assist for each gun. Added option, show precision lines for fixed and manual gimbal mode. Precision lines. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Added option, auto gimbal display focused on average pip or focused on target with gimbal position indicators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another thing. We're going to have to see what those are. And, you know, those are going to be settings that, like, a lot of people aren't going to realize is there because no one's going to really, like, talk about it. Because it's going to be like any other patch where they add, you know, anything into the settings. And it's going to be buried within everything else. And, you know, because you don't immediately see them, people are going to glaze over it.
Well, even then, even if they don't put it in the settings, even if they put it as a swapping option, a lot of people don't play the game and don't know what decoupled means, right?
Oh,
so even if it's under the auto key, which I think it will be, who knows? Like, a lot of players just won't know it. This game is, you know, so massive and so nebulous that it takes forever to learn these things.
Yeah.
I've been playing this game for years and I'm still learning about things in the game.
Yeah.
So,
I've been around for 4 years and there's plenty I don't know. So, yeah. New target bracket. Drastically increased ballistic ammo, which we actually see in the next photo that I'll be going to here.
They are not joking about that.
Yeah. So I'll actually go ahead and change to the next photo here.
It'll be interesting to see if that's actually going to stay or not, because when they say increased, they drastically increased. I think it was like 250 rounds for the Gladius, for the ballistic rounds. Now it's 5,000.
Yeah, as you can see here, I've switched to the next one here. The Mantis ammo, 5,000. Yeah. So right here you can see SEM mode. You can see what's interesting is there's a lot of new UI elements here for targeting. So you actually see, you know, there's a new targeting box here, and there's also where the crosshair is. That's also got its own little red square box right there. So that has changed a little bit. You can see you have the auto target deselected right here on the bottom right. So yeah, I mean, overall, I like the UI changes. Now, along with the crosshairs there, you have this little tiny circle. I know it's probably hard to see for everybody. I could try to like zoom in a little bit. It's right here in the middle. And on top of that, you have, which I can't find in here. I think it's actually right here. Or no, it's not.
No, I don't think the triangle is open right now.
It might not be.
If you look at the circle's in the middle of the screen. So my guess is there's no maneuvering happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. But yeah, so there's that little circle. There's also a little triangle that kind of like moves around. The biggest difference that I saw was currently what we have is the triangle that we have right now in game. I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe this from memory. Whenever you move your mouse, that little triangle has like a little it's got like a little whip, a little line or whip that's like connected to your center pip. And that kind of shows like where your mouse is being pointed at, and
where you're maneuvering.
Yeah, where you're maneuvering, and how it like affects your thrusters, and so that is gone, and now all you see is a little tiny triangle kind of moving around, and that might be a little bit tougher to be able to see. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see more of that and actually try it out.
And we don't know if that's a feature that's just for mouse. Is it going to be there for joysticks as well? Mm-hmm. My guess is probably it's just a mouse. But that might actually be. So, do you think that might be precision lines? When it says added option, show precision lines, it could be an option that you get to turn on and off. Potentially. Well, that's extra. That's more speculation than I would feel comfortable with. But
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's. I throw that stuff out there just because it's kind of wondering in the moment, but yeah, it could be completely wrong, like I said. But
there's nothing wrong with wandering around in the dark, grouping.
With yeah. There's nothing wrong with a blind person running around in the dark.
What I find interesting here is he's in SCM mode. We have no shields, so he's clearly having a rough time. I don't see a shield charge meter or shield charge piece at all whatsoever. I'm not seeing that. So, did his shields die? Did his shields module die? It's very unclear. There's really not enough on the screen to be able to answer that for sure. And then the second thing that's really interesting for me is we can clearly see the target he's targeting is the top right of that cloud of Vandal. My God, so many Vandal, right?
That was a bug that they've put out there, is that all the Vandal would well, he's actually on wave 10.
He's on the last wave.
So, yeah.
So like this would make sense for like the last wave kind of thing.
Yeah.
There
was a bug where right from the start they would all spawn.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. Now the other thing I want to point out is the fact that so we can tell the ship he's targeting is in that red square,
Yeah,
right? That's the new
right here.
targeting piece, right? Well, for the rest of the ships, why does that one triangle so bright? You see that one that's
What about this one?
no, the one that's in the middle is way brighter red than the rest of them.
Oh, that's because he's currently facing. So so that happens now. When and also, yeah. So you could have another ship targeted, but if your ship is facing a different target, it'll highlight that with like a brighter red, and just saying like if you cycle your targets, that's going to be the next one that it selects. And you can see it's got faint letters underneath it telling you information about that target.
I don't remember that being the thing.
That's a thing right now. And also it could be him using a Tobii eye tracker or a Trek IR, where with Tobii, when you're looking at your next target, it'll highlight it in bright red like that as well.
Maybe.
So, well, I mean that I know that for a fact.
I don't have Tobii, so
I do
I
that.
want Tobii so bad, but
I use it, so I know for a fact that happens.
Gotcha.
Even without it, as long as your ship is facing in the general direction of that target, it'll kind of like highlight it like that. So yeah, that's what that is. That's nothing new. That's been there. But yeah, you can have whatever target already selected flying around off in the corner or something like that, and still have another one highlighted like that.
So then I bet that's a Tobii eye tracker thing then. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty certain with me, that does not happen with me. So.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Moved the N1 system. An S3 gimbal will now hold an S3 gun with a penalty. So that's an interesting change that I didn't expect.
What is the penalty?
Yeah. What is the penalty? You know. Could it be the amount of power that goes to the gun? Like it affects the
ammo that it's carrying.
Let's say, like if it's like an energy weapon, maybe it drains faster.
Maybe it draws more power.
Yeah.
Maybe with a gimbal mode, it draws a significant amount of power just to maintain the gimbal.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, if you're gonna go stealth, here's the thing. This is super speculation again.
Yeah.
But like it could balance it by saying it draws way more power, which for energy weapons would drain a lot of the shots available, right?
Mm-hmm.
For ammunition, it could amp the output for heat and cooling that you have to do because it has to maintain a lot of power, even though it's a ballistics weapon kind of thing. So there's a lot of options that they could use to balance it. They don't really specify, and we haven't seen any sign of what it is. And for context, right now in the game, let's say you have a size 3 weapon slot. If you put a gimbal mount on it, you can only put it in a size 2 weapon slot in that now.
Yeah.
So the balancing piece for now is you have a smaller projectile that does less damage if you want to go gimbal.
Right.
They're getting away with that. They're moving away from that. They're saying you get the same size projectile just with gimbal. So now the damage output isn't going to be what's balanced. What are they going to balance? So are they going to balance your ammunition, your shot amount, heating, cooling, reload speeds? They could balance almost anything right now.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
It wouldn't make sense for them to balance the damage output of that gun, because you would think that's the sole reason why you'd want to keep a size 3 on a gimbal size 3, because you want that damage. You want it to have that effect on there, so that I can't imagine them affecting, because why would you use a size 3 weapon where it's got a damage penalty? Like that doesn't make sense. There'd be no reason to have that on there. You would just go with a size 2.
Well, if the damage penalty isn't all the way down to a damn size 2, right? If it isn't all the way down.
Yeah, maybe it could be slightly better.
Yeah.
Um, it's also something that's worth noting here is that within this Evocati playtest for Master Modes, the only ship that they have currently that has Master Modes enabled is the Gladius. That's it. They've confirmed they have no other ship Master Modes ready. So it's just the special.
They did confirm that?
Yes, they have, and they've confirmed it several times. Even before this playtest, they talked about when they had Master Mode when last time they talked about it, either I think it was on a live Star Citizen Live when they talked about Master Modes. They confirmed that they only had one Gladius with Master Modes enabled in Squadron 42, and that's what's in here at the moment. And they confirmed as well that it'll only be the Gladius for Master Modes in Arena Commander for the experimental mode.
I was under the impression that they had only the Squadron 42 ships that's available, and that's more than just the Gladius.
No, they said only the Gladius.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
That's I am 85% positive from what I remember from what they said. It was only the Gladius.
Gotcha.
And that's the reason why we can only fly the Gladius in this in these playtests. Okay, targeting changes. Oh wait, hold on. I didn't finish with the other one. Custom weapon stats for the Gladius weaponry. Shield layout for the used Gladius is now front and back. Targeting changes. Button changes. R for closest hostile. T for cycle hostiles in view. And 5 is cycle all in view. Auto targeting. If no target is present, or if you press left Alt and R, the closest visible hostile will be targeted. Targets will automatically swap if better targets are in view. Any manual target control will cancel that process.
That's pointing out the auto target option, which is going to be very interesting. It's not gimbaled, right?
Yeah.
It's not whatever. It's literally swapping out your targets based on what's actually in front of you, if you want to enable that.
Right.
And essentially, if you're targeting a ship and you're jousting with it, and it flies over you, now it's behind you, if there's another ship that's in front of you, your target lock will automatically swap to that target without you having to hit the button, without you having to hit T for targeting.
Yeah.
I could definitely think of situations where that would be useful.
Oh, yes.
I could think of situations where that would be annoying. And so they gave us the ability to turn it on and off.
Right.
And for example, in this picture right here, auto target is currently turned off.
And so think about this: if a target flies past you, he's probably he's how do I explain it? If he's flying past you, he's not going to be he's flying away from you, and I would now I'm not a dog fighter, so I could be completely wrong about this, but for who you want to target is if there's another target that's closer, they're more of a threat in the moment because they have more of a potential to be probably already firing at you.
It's a target of opportunity. And one thing that I want to point out is these changes, both the speed, the shield facing, everything about these changes is really pushing the game more into like a fleet battle scenario.
Yeah.
Where it's really encouraging people to fly together in a wing, in a group, to support each other, to have light fighters supporting medium fighters, supporting large capital ships, right? So in those situations, you're not dogfighting a single pilot. Like right now, fleet battles are turned into clusters of individual pilots that are jousting and knife fighting and back and forth. That's not, and right now we do need a lock target for that, because you got to keep in mind who is the person that's actively jousting you. Well, in this mode, you may not need to know who you're actively jousting. You're doing a pass through a group of enemies, and you need to do some damage to as much damage as you can do. You need to do as much damage to as many enemies as you can in that pass. So you can turn on auto target to do damage on this target. As soon as he passes you, it selects another target, and then you line up your shot and do damage to it. And so it really encourages that group of gameplay, that group spawning, that group targeting, that group play.
Giving you more options for a wider range of different scenarios. And you're going to have the scenarios too where you're going to want to target one specific ship out of a cluster. You know, like maybe in the image here, there's going to be one ship in particular, like maybe there's a Mantis. Maybe you want to target the Mantis first. Or whatever ship is doing, you know, the most damage, or the one ship that's standing out to you that for whatever reason you need.
Advantageous ship.
Yeah. You would have to, you know, specifically target one, and
there could be an ion that's damaging a capital ship.
Yeah,
that's a ship you want to target, instead of the light fighters. There could be a Mantis that's holding your trade ship in place. There could be a Vandal blade that's just constantly ramming stuff. You know, who knows, right? There's a myriad of reasons tactically that you'd want to target a single ship and stay on that one ship. There's also a lot of reasons where you'd want to just maximum damage to as many people as possible.
Yeah. Added bindings to allow setting the default convergence distance directly from an input access. However, there is no UI for this yet. So there you go. There's your confirmation. UI is not finished. Added binding to suppress aim assists as long as the button is held. Use it when you feel that aim assist works against you. Yeah. And, you know, again, I can't comment too much on any of this because my brain hurts kind of looking at some of it and trying to figure out, like, what it actually means in game, what it's going to feel like, because we haven't tried it yet. So I would like to get somebody who absolutely loves dogfighting in here to actually kind of like go over some of this stuff. You know, somebody that can explain it a little bit better. That would be pretty cool.
My understanding, for what it's worth, my understanding of aim assist is if you have it enabled, essentially what happens is as your reticle gets closer to the pip, it actually minimizes your output. So it's kind of like in a first-person shooter game where the closer you get to the headshot, the more movement it takes of the actual mouse or the actual joystick to actually move the mouse further, because the sensitivity goes way down. Way you can
that's ESP,
be more precise.
Right?
No, not the same thing. It's aim assist. So as you get closer to the piece, your sensitivity goes way down. That way you can be more precise with your actual shots, right?
That's what ESP does, though.
No.
When you go in the settings and you adjust ESP, what it does is it decreases or increases sensitivity based on your pip getting onto the radius of your target. That's what ESP is.
It's possible I'm confused by this, but my understanding of ESP is essentially my understanding was it was a gimbaled mode. If you have a gimbal, right, and the gimbal doesn't track that particular spot anymore, you can sort of manually adjust it slightly. It had to do with gimbaling, but I could be wrong. Again, this is one of those things that, because the game is so nebulous, that it could easily be wrong here. My understanding was the ESP is different than aim assist. So we'll have to see.
That might be the aim assist.
Well, another thing that I want to point out is the reason why I brought it up was with the auto targeting. If you have a crowd of ships like this and you're auto targeting, you could potentially be hard flying through a bunch of targets And if your aim assist is high, or if you have a strong aim assist, it could really slow down your maneuvering rate, your turn rate, if you're constantly cycling through targets. So you may want to like, hey, I'm doing this maneuver real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to turn off auto target, but I also don't want to slow down my turn either. So you'd press the button, disable aim assist, and complete your turn, and then, go. I could definitely see
Okay.
with the auto targeting feature, I could definitely see that being a really needed option.
Okay. And for anybody that's watching this, pulling their hair out with us arguing over who's right about aim assist and ESP and stuff like that, tell us who won the argument in the comments below, or correct both of us, please, for the love of God.
It's probably both of us are wrong, honestly.
Well, here's the thing: I watched videos on ESP, and that's how it was described to me multiple times by Jonathan Winters. So that was the definition I've gotten from ESP from Jonathan Winters. So I trust him. But okay, moving on. All right, so this one, we're moving on to ships. Topic of this
Got a new
next segment.
Argo coming.
So, yeah. So the only description that we've got from this in the Discord, the pipeline Discord, was that the T for MPUV T means tractor beam, and my guess when we talked about this yesterday was that the 1 in front of it might indicate that it's a size 1 tractor beam. So that is kind of like what I'm sticking to, because I don't know what else that 1 could mean. And you'll see here soon, which we'll talk about, is there's another tractor beam device that explains that size 1 would pick up crew members, like crew member incapacitated bodies, and also asteroid pieces. So if that is the case, we could see the Argo MPUV with a tractor beam with that ability to be able to sift through like asteroid debris and stuff like that, and smaller things.
Minor debris and such.
Mm-hmm.
Below a certain size.
Yeah.
My guess is this is probably going to be the LTI token that's going to come out for IAE.
Yeah, because
that's my guess.
We another thing we were talking about is, we were guessing when this could potentially come out, and right now tractor beams are pretty close to being completed for, what was it, the 100i or was it 300i? Which origin ship?
It's the 315.
315p.
Cuddy Black.
Cuddy Black. Yeah, Cuddy Black. The Caterpillar.
Mm-hmm. The Argo SRV, they did confirm the Argo SRV in their test case inside of CIG has pulled its first ship. Yes,
yeah, that's right. They did just come out and say that.
The tractor beams are closer to being complete than maybe we give it credit for. My guess is probably that tractor beams will be in 3.20. I was like, ship-wide tractor beams will be in 3.20. Because again, to pirate a C2, which is supposed to be in 3.20, you would need ship-based tractor beams. You have to have that. At least on the whole sea itself, at the very minimum.
Yeah.
So in this situation, it makes sense that they can start implementing tractor beams on other ships, and that makes sense. And honestly, the Argo MPUV makes perfect sense to have a tractor beam.
The Argo MPUV would make sense to have a lot of things. I feel like that could be a ship that has a medical variant. There was a leaked toolbox variant that would just, there was the mining variant. They had, and this ship is pretty old too. It's been out for a long time, and I've seen pictures of the Argo MPUV in Squadron 42 in different configurations as well. So they have done a lot with this behind the scenes that we don't know about. So whether we see this or not, we don't know, because I hear all the time in all the leaks that we've had since I've been around, many different versions of the MPUV that just haven't come to light yet. So whether we see this or not, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing.
It would make sense, though. It would make sense to see it.
The reason why I'm calling LTI token for IAE is that's a ship that's been in the game for a long time. It would be very, very easy to retrofit it to the new gold standard.
Probably already had it, you know?
Yeah. They probably already had this variation of it. It's probably very easy to retrofit it, kind of like what they did with the Pisces R, the rescue version of the Pisces R, right? And then have that released as the LTI token for that show. And it would implement and show, what do you call it? It would be a ship that you could then help transfer and load cargo potentially for pirates. It would, but small enough to be loaded up onto other ships. It would be a ship that would be small enough to be cheap enough to be an LTI token. Like it would fit, and it would fit perfectly with CIG sort of like sell business model piece. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
And then keep in mind, that's what, 3 months away, IAE at like worst case scenario. More likely, more like 2 months away. So it makes sense that we're seeing hints of it now, like we did with the Pisces R.
IAE is in November.
November.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, right here, lumped together with so there's a consumable here which we'll go over just because it's a part of this as well. But I had this one come up second because tractor beam right here, that size 1 that I was talking about. So right here you could say tractor beam size 1 manufacturer GREYCAT Industries. Tractor beam, GREYCAT's latest addition to their field-tested tractor beam line is a dependable addition to their catalog. Aside from a more efficient pull-draw ratio, the latest model does little to advance from the previous models. The Sure Grip has settings to target and extract everything from asteroid fragments to drifting crewmen, backed by GREYCAT's certified soft touch guarantee.
This feels like for me a ship tractor beam. It could be a handheld like rifle tractor beam, not the little small pyro multi-tool we have now, but a full-fledged like purpose-built tractor beam weapon, if you will. But this feels more to me like a size 1 ship tractor beam.
Yeah, this could be the size 1 tractor beam that is on the MPUV, or a version of it. It also could be a handheld version, but we just don't know, you know.
The reason why I say it feels like a ship tractor beam is it specifically says asteroid fragments, right?
Yeah.
And the idea behind the tractor beams eventually will be you can't move something that's heavier than you, right? So physics will take into account a lot of this stuff. And if you're moving asteroid fragments, even asteroid fragments will probably be bigger than you. So unless you're sitting on a gravity grid,
depends on how big the asteroid fragments actually become. You could get them down to something smaller than you.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, but maybe not.
But again, I think with the size 1 line, with what is moving, with the fact that it's Sure Grip, that sounds like a ship's module name, like the like the way they name ship module names. Like, it's just my guess. This is probably the ship tractor beam.
I think it's funny here at the end they said backed by GREYCAT's certified soft touch guarantee.
Well, you don't want to get tossed around if you're injured.
No. No. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about this line that's above it here, since it's here. Consumable sedative. Manufacturer Rosimov Rehabilitation Systems. Medical consumable. Designed by RS for field applications. And this is something that's been leaked before already. This is in a couple of my past videos. I was hoping to see this already, but it makes sense that this would come out with like bounty hunting gameplay or something. This single-use device injects a fast-acting sedative into the target's body that will incapacitate the subject for a short duration, preventing them from hurting themselves or others. So it sounds like a bounty hunting consumable that you would want with you.
Yep.
So
essentially what this would do to some degree was you would inject it into somebody, it would instantly incapacitate them, or maybe have a short window before it activates, and then they would be laying on the ground for you to, as we'll see in later pieces, as we'll say in later leaks, to restrain them or to unrestrain them, right? So you can restrain them, take them up to a cryopod or whatever for arresting. This is bounty hunting V2, right? This is bringing them in alive and not dead, right?
Yeah.
Which makes that gameplay a lot more complex, and this would probably be one of the tools. The conversation that me and Joe had yesterday about this topic was more about the lines of, okay, what about players? Like, what happens if there's a wanted player who's wanted alive, and they get hit with this consumable? They're incapacitated, and I get there's an incentive for you not to backspace, right? But what happens if you do backspace? Do you go straight to prison? Your prison sentence is started, right?
you would, yeah.
Yeah, that's what my guess is, right?
I think CFG have confirmed that.
That's probably the likely outcome.
They have confirmed that once you get placed into like the cryopod or whatever it is, for bounty hunting, that you would be in like an incapacitated state.
Well, you don't know. You'd have the option to. So my understanding right now, based on what CFG has said, and what I've heard, is like, for example, the example they gave was the Hawk. It has that seat that you can sit inside of.
Yeah.
There would be the option to go ahead and fully surrender and go to prison, right? That way you don't have to ride in someone's ship as they fly around the verse waiting to take you in alive, right? So essentially what would happen is you'd have this state, the cryopod or the back of the Hawk, you'd have the ability to essentially backspace from there and go ahead and start your prison sentence. Or if you want to stay in that state, you can, and call up some friends and say, hey, I'm being taken alive, come help me out.
On top of this, not only are you going to have the sedative, but you're going to have the restraint system, which is essentially handcuffs. And then you're also going to have a taser option, which they've shown before pictures of, and they've teased in like the jump points and stuff like that. They've shown pictures, so it's gonna be exciting. I'm hoping we'll see bounty hunting gameplay here sometime this year. So they did show a little bit of when the last ISC that they showed for Goodbye Port Olisar type of thing. That Seraphim Station is actually going to have a landing pad going into the new law offices where you're going to be dropping off your bounties. And they showed someone carting off their cryopod.
And they even had an ISC a while back showing the turning in of, a securities office, like a very basic.
That was actually far along in the modeling process, too. So it was really well thought out, and it looked.
It's coming along very quickly, so this is a good sign.
Yeah, those offices are not that big, so I can picture them being pretty close to being done as far as at least the modeled interior of it.
Especially if they're moving any kind of speed as underground facilities. My God.
Yeah, Yeah, that's something else that's exciting, which we won't get into today. But yeah, let's see here. Okay, next we have the so right here, the MPUV Maelstrom. I want to talk about that next, just because this either is its own thing it's either separate from the tractor beam variant of the MPUV, or it is the same thing.
Yep, my guess is the same thing.
And we were talking about the definition of Maelstrom. It's a whirlpool. It's the what do you call it?
It's a large natural whirlpool that would bring ships towards the center.
Yeah, and to have a whirlpool pull you, it's essentially what's happening with the tractor beam. So there's also, I've seen other content creators suspect that Maelstrom MPUV means something. They're thinking of a storm, more of like a storm, not just a whirlpool of something pulling you in. They're also thinking of, like a storm as in, you're bringing the heat to somebody. So they were guessing that this could be something with weapons, which I don't think.
Not an Auger MPUV.
No. I would love a bomber MPUV, by the way, but no, that would be just absolutely absurd, and I would absolutely love it. But yeah, I would agree with you that the Maelstrom, I think, is more akin to what a tractor beam would be like, because it's pulling you into something. So,
I mean, it could be the other possibility that I just thought of, actually.
What's that?
Be an MPUV with a personnel tractor beam, but with a what do you call it? The cryopod on the back of it. Cryopod's on the back of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for like bounty hunting.
Yeah.
It could be about a bounty hunting
very
variant.
Similar to that. Yeah.
Could you imagine them releasing like 3 or 4 MPUV variants at once?
I could totally see them doing that.
I would buy. They
totally.
They would 100%, seeing what they did with the Fury and how they added, what was it? You could buy like 12. I would now. I passed up on that opportunity, just because that's just absolutely ridiculous. No reason to do that. But I would definitely do that if they had a MPUV pack of just all the different variants. Give me 12 different MPUVs and I'll buy all of them in a heartbeat.
They are very useful. Like I generally I don't.
They will be.
Buy them in game.
They will be useful. Very useful in the future.
They're useful now.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying in the future they're going to get more and more valuable as more and more features come online, and the more that we're going to actually need something without a quantum drive, and more of like a something that fits in that niche, it'll come more and more relevant. So other than that, we're gonna this text right here that you guys are seeing where it says should delete after sitcon. We're not really going to talk about that, just because we talked about this yesterday and we've come to the conclusion that this probably doesn't mean anything whatsoever. It's just text.
Well, it means something, but it can mean so many different things, and we have no context for it.
Yeah, it says space mine tests, delete after sitcon. So this could have been something that's like old or something for this year. Who knows? Yeah, it's just, I don't think it's worth talking about, really. Don't get too excited about this. This could mean nothing that you're thinking of. But on top of it here, we have different missions here, PU missions.
Yes, dear viewer, you were wrong about whatever you're thinking. That's
true, yeah.
I know what you're thinking, and you're wrong.
You're wrong about all of them. Every single scenario you're thinking of, you're wrong. It would be interesting though if you guys have any guesses. Feel free to put it down there in the comments and let us know.
Yes, please include your wrong guesses in the comments below.
Yeah, and then we'll continue to tell you that you're wrong. We'll respond with "You're wrong." Okay, so PU missions, Resource Rush, Asteroid Cluster. So Resource Rush, that's I'm assuming it's going to be a new mining mission. So much like the contracts that you would get for salvage, but this is for mining, and they have talked about this.
Yeah, clearly there's probably some asteroid cluster, maybe even in the Halo belt, right? Where some NPC had scouted out and found a rich vein of gold, or rich vein of quantum, whatever it is, and very similar to how they do the salvaging rushing, where hey, a battle just occurred with a bunch of dead ships with a lot of stuff to salvage. Go salvage it, right? My guess is probably somewhere on that line. They said they was working on it. They said they wanted to do it. I just think this is them doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's closer than we think. And then also you have deliveries, retrieve consignment, which they've also talked about recently. I don't think we really need to talk about that too much. We still don't really know the
actually,
details of that one.
one thing I do want to point out here, retrieve consignment, because the assumption was there would be essentially a mission for you to go get some things.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now this is looking like it's not like, so in a lot of games, and the way they were talking, it sounded like we need 50 SCU of iron ore, or iron, or whatever, of medical supplies, right? And you had to go source them and bring them back and deliver them.
Right.
This looks like and sounds like, hey, I as a station have bought 100 SCU of X cargo over at New Babbage. I need you to go get it and bring it here.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what that sounds like, which is cool, which is a bit more interesting in my opinion. But I like it.
There could be a little bit more to it. Again, they haven't really told us much about it yet, so we don't really know the details. So I'm hoping there's going to be a little bit more to it. I want there to be a little bit more of a complexity to these things. But okay, restoration. No, this is to me this is a little bit more interesting.
Very much so.
Restoration contractor.
I mean, this could be anything from medical missions, whatever, to other things. We really haven't seen, and I don't think it's that. I think it's to bring up satellites. And the reason why I say that is the term restoration, to restore, that term is used almost exclusively, to my knowledge, in to restore a satellite uplink, right? So what this feels like to me is this is going to be a mission that's going to be given to people who are in good standing with local security forces to go restore a satellite, even after the initial ECN alert mission has failed and is gone. If you play in the PU right now, Microtech's almost always, their satellites are almost always down. Microtech is chaos right now. Right? And a lot of like Selland is a similar way, where it's just somebody takes it down, nobody brings it back up, or it fails to be brought back up, and no one else has a mission to bring the satellite back up. So now they have to risk trespassing at the satellite, getting killed by the satellite, just to bring the satellite back up. This would fix that. If you have good standings with Microtech security, you can go in there, take a standing mission, which is always there, and go restore the satellite. So
yeah,
I think this is I think that's what this mission is. I think this mission is needed in the universe. I like what I'm seeing.
I think your guess is probably the best guess for that, and the one that I had that is probably the least likely, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway, just to have another option here that possibly could be a part of it. I was kind of hoping to see we've recently seen the cover up mission for it's a salvage mission that you would go to like a crime scene, and you would see a vessel there, and you would have to strip the contents of that ship before authorities get there, so that way they can't identify who was responsible for whatever happened there. I'm hoping to see more gameplay and more missions tied to actually repairing. And like you were saying, that restoration typically isn't used. It would be repair if it had anything to do with repair, because repair gameplay and all that, which I agree with. But nonetheless, I would still love to see some sort of mission where you had to repair a ship rather than strip it.
Yeah, I think we'll eventually see missions where, especially once the Crucible comes into play, once that comes in, where you would be tasked to go out there and repair someone's ship or an NPC ship to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't think the ship to do that is in the game yet. I don't think the functionality to do that in the game yet.
No.
The closest thing to that we have is jankily delivering a module to a ship to fix a broken module, and a handheld gun that can apply a hole onto a ship that's lost some of its hull.
Now,
I don't think any of that is good enough to warrant a mission.
all they would need is I don't know if they would do this, but they just need a different mode for the salvage heads that they have, the salvage arms that they have. Much like you do with, you have the option with the handheld one. Why wouldn't you have the option with the bigger modules, right? To be able to switch and restore rather than salvage. I would think that you would be able to switch and repair rather than salvage. Maybe not, but it makes sense to me.
I think this is too early for that.
But my point in bringing that up is I think it'd be easy for them to, if they wanted to go that route, I think it'd be easy for them to do it, because it's just, they already have it with the hand multi-tool salvage attachment. So all they would have to do is really apply that to its bigger cousin. But yeah, that was my take on what this also could be, which probably isn't, but that's my hope. But the satellite thing, I think it'd be cool too. I think that is a need for sure. Next one, we have a Aegis Gladius Maelstrom. And what this means, who the hell knows?
Specifically animations. Spaceships.
Yeah. So this is confusing to me. The fact it's underneath animations, specifically for the Gladius, and seeing the MPUV underneath Maelstrom as well. It's confusing, because it's kind of making me think that there's a possibility that the Maelstrom MPUV isn't a name for a new MPUV variant. But again, why would that one not be underneath animations? Well,
because
there's just too much we don't know.
There could be a tractor beam called the Maelstrom. There could be this could be what they refer to the animation of actually using the tractor beam on these ships, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of explanations.
Yeah, that's right. We did talk about that.
There's a lot of explanations that could justify that. Of, the ship's name is the Argo MPUV 1T as far as the system is concerned.
Yeah.
But the proper ship name could be Maelstrom. Right?
The tractor beam itself could be called Maelstrom because
the Argo. Well, here's the database, the computer side of it, the back end of it.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at here could just refer to that ship as a 1T, right? Whereas the name that you'd see on the ship's cell, the store cell, would be Maelstrom, right? And what you're seeing here is what they might be doing here, which is my again, guess, is this feels like a animation piece that they're just calling Maelstrom for now, where a ship tractor beam is moving a ship.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be a larger tractor beam called a Maelstrom instead of Sure Grip, Who knows? So I don't think we're getting a Gladius variant with a tractor beam. I feel like we're getting an
No,
Argo
no.
UPV with a tractor beam, and something to do with the animation is being referred to it as a Maelstrom. My guess is this is the animation that plays whenever a Gladius is being tractor beamed.
Also, there is an internal system that CIG uses that they've unveiled during a recent ISC. They've come out and kind of like said what Maelstrom is. I currently don't remember in my head exactly what that internal system does or means. That could also pertain to this. If you guys know, let us know.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
I could go pull up the video and see real quick.
No, let's just continue on.
Yeah, we'll continue on. But that also.
I'd rather be wrong and fast. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Wrong and fast. Awesome. If you're going to be wrong, get the fuck out of there as fast as possible. But yeah, that could pertain to the internal system that they use. Again, I'd have to go back and take a look at that. I will, when I do make the other video about this, I will have already known what this is, because I am going to go back and take a look. And I will let everybody know in that video. Okay, moving on. R-Site Constellation Andromeda Pirate.
Makes sense. New ship.
Yeah.
I love it.
Arena Commander. That's what I'm thinking. This is going to be another pirate ship in Arena Commander. So just a different loadout with a different skin on the Andromeda.
You might be able to purchase it like you do the Gladius Pirate. Or
You
the
could
Gladius
purchase it.
Pirate. It would be a
And that
good
would look
medium
cool.
size ship. Yeah.
This could be now. Remember when they said that the new like the Pirate Aggressor badge is going away with this new Arena Commander update, and they're going to be giving out a new one. And you know how you used to be able to unlock the Pirate Gladius and the Pirate Caterpillar? This could be a new unlock. Instead of unlocking the Gladius and the Caterpillar, it could be the new one is the Andromeda Pirate. Possibly. I think.
Also, keep in mind, for anybody who's watching, when you, and this has been known for a while, but just in case you're newer to the game, when you do Pirate Swarm and you complete it, you unlock the ability to pay real money to buy those ships.
How lucky are you to spend $300, $400 of your hard-earned money to, you've unlocked. Just treat yourself,
Yeah. Treat yourself by paying us.
You may not.
Again, I could definitely see this being another ship that you could purchase by unlocking the next Pirate Swarm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. All right. Now, this might be exciting to some. We have UI control hints for boats. Yeah. This is our first actual evidence of boats existing.
All you guys that are fans of How I Met Your Father, or How I Met Your Mother, excuse me. There you go.
I don't follow you on that one. I haven't seen it.
There was a scene, or not a scene, a recurring character in the show How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually, I like this show. I'm not a huge fan of it. My wife's a huge fan of it, and I enjoy it. So we've watched it through and through several times. And there was a lady on there that was like a boat salesman, like that commercial. That Ted like dated or liked or whatever, and she was the boats lady, because there was a guy that was selling boats, and like her only job in the commercials was to go up there, look hot, and be like, boats.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess it's funnier if you see it, if you watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is pretty self-explanatory. This is for anybody that has seen the control hints that you can turn on and off within 3.19. This would essentially be a part of it. So you would see instructions on how to move the boat, toggle power on and off, exit the boat, the driver's seat, and also steer. And something I wanted to kind of like just add to this right here. Recently on the ISC where they talk about the outposts that are coming with 320. Yeah, I think 320. It might be 321. At the time they were talking about 320. Is that they showed off one particular outpost that had an actual boat dock. So, but they did in that same one confirm that there would be no fishing. But the fact that there is a boat dock, you could take this boat and hopefully dock with it. So either you would dock with it through some sort of system, much like ships, or you would just do it yourself, you know, fake it. But yeah, this is exciting. But give me 1 minute. I have to step away for 1 second. I'll come back here.
Okay.
All right. I had to confirm something with the roommate. Okay. So, on to the next thing here. This is a juicy one, guys. This is a juicy one. We could talk about this for hours.
Let's try to keep it quick.
Yeah. We'll go through, we'll read stuff, and we'll kind of give a little bit of dialogue with it. We won't go forever. But yeah, so this is engineering UI within the game. So these are all the different options, whether they're on panels or, you know, something to do with the tuner role that they've shown off for the 3 engineering roles. So yeah, you would see this either on a panel or on like a data pad or something like that you would handle as a tuner or like a supervisor or something.
The part that really draws out the majority of the attention that I want to bring attention to is this really shows how in depth they want to really go with resource management. Right?
And
this is
they've
what we're
shown
looking at here.
They've shown
right?
most of this too, by the way.
And I think you can sort of see where they want to go. For example, towards the bottom where it says resource power settings, P equals minimum, P equals normal, P equals overclock, P equals max. My guess is the tuner would go in and set those minimum, maximum, normals, and overclock settings. And then later, while you're flying the ship, an engineer could adjust to those settings, but he couldn't adjust those settings particularly, right? And you can see the tablet piece, because they said that the tuner was supposed to have a tablet, right? This is the UI for these pieces. And you can see where it says, tablet items, tablet lap support, tablet room, tab rooms, right? This is probably going to be the on the tablet itself. You would have tabs in that tablet interface where you can go, let's look at rooms, let's look at the life support for those pieces, let's look at the gravity overall, let's look at the main pieces, and then up to towards the middle where it says life support, you'd have more finesse controls that the tuner would have. Fill, pressurize, change O2 levels, focus scrubbing, putting more power towards scrubbing the carbon out of it and purifying the air kind of thing. There's a lot of different things you could do there. That this is really cool, the amount of UI that they're already building for this function.
And they've been building this for a while now as well. So it should be pretty far along. And they've actually shown it, some of these actually working in some of their I think there was like a road. There was like a road to 4.0, at CitizenCon where they showed a lot of this actually functioning. As far as
they showed the low gravity, half gravity, like full gravity, no gravity. They showed a lot here.
Venting O2, kind of thing. How it affects the personnel, actually incapacitating somebody with the O2. But yeah, I'll quickly kind of go through here in chunks. So yeah, like you were saying, it says tab, so that's possibly means tablet. So for the tuner, maybe you have data, doors, engineering, graph, gravity, items, life support, and rooms. So
Or it could be a tab of the multi-class feature that the tuner would have.
also that, yeah, because this looks like these are general labels for something that you would click on and you would get like a better view of what's in those.
Mhm.
Also above that, you have resource power settings 1 through 4. You already went through this: minimum, normal, overclock, or max. Resource cooling. So you have coolant short. You have settings 1 and 2, and one. The only one I recognize is the bottom one there. It says unlock, and I don't know what the top one, THRO. I'm not sure what that means. Also,
Turbo?
CLT, I think, probably means control. So yeah, that's interesting. Not entirely sure. There's resource CPU shorts. Again, I'm not entirely sure what that would be. You have
computer blades.
It could be. It could have something to do with computer blades.
There's so much stuff here that it's just incredible.
Yeah. And we did talk about, we have another podcast for anybody that's watching called The Snowbirds Meeting Room, which we're actually doing tomorrow. Another episode of, I think, right? Yeah, we are. We're doing an episode. And we've talked about engineering gameplay, one of those episodes too, where we talked about how complex it could be. And then we get into rack type here. So this is some sort of rack. It says system, item, and group. So I guess you'd be able to control whatever's on that rack, wherever that is on the ship.
Yeah, and that could be anything at this point.
It could be essentially any sort of component that is actually plugged in. It could be on a rack, like its own rack, and maybe a group of components in one specific area could be considered on one rack.
Mm-hmm. So
we just don't know, because there is like a group setting here. It looks like you can filter through like item and system. So yeah, interesting.
Keep in mind, all this is just the UI of how the engineers or the ship owner would be controlling and manipulating this.
Yeah. You have controls, so engineering controls, and you have gravity control. So that's pretty self-explanatory right there. Button details, which says more, and button confirm. So confirm changes. So I guess you would input your changes and then you would have to hit confirm.
That'd be the save button at the bottom somewhere.
Yeah. You have 2 warnings. So you have, actually, no, you have 4 warnings. My bad. You have no available controls for something specific. And then you have ignore all warnings. And then you have enable all warnings or disable all warnings that informs of no available interactions. So when we were talking yesterday about this, I gave an example of like on a Navy ship, if like, there's an alarm going off on a specific piece of equipment, but it has no immediate threat to any personnel or actually damaging the equipment, and maybe you don't have the necessary means to fix it in that moment, you would want to disable the warnings, so that way you're not constantly hearing the alarm go off. If you're on a long journey in space, you're not going to want to hear the alarms continuously going and going and going. You're going to want to mute them, and then in certain situations, so that way you can get to the proper, maybe landing zone to fix what you need to fix.
After all, who else has been wanting to mute those missile warnings?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the pesky what is it, the turbo imbalance?
Yeah.
On like the Corsair.
Torque imbalance. Yeah.
Torque imbalance. There you go. Torque imbalance. I'm sick of seeing that shit. Just turn it off completely. You have vent controls. So you have vent control, and then flow speed. So you can control the amount of flow that comes through. What was that?
The vent speed, how fast it vents.
Yes. Yeah.
Now here's the thing: ventilation could be venting out in space, or it could be venting O2 into the cabin.
I think it's both.
Yeah, it could be either one. Where so you could say I don't want to use up my oxygen too fast, right? So only give a little bit of oxygen at a time, because I'm only going to have a one crew for this ship. So, like for example, cutting black is meant for 2-person crew. If you're only going with a 1-person crew, you may want to, and it's on a longer-term mission, you may want to conserve O2 and only vent a little bit of O2 into the cabin at any given time.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be if you're gonna have a certain supply of O2 that is finite, and it is going to end up running out at some point. If you have people currently, let's say, sleeping in the crew quarters, you're going to want to give them the O2, and maybe in storage, turn off the O2 in storage or something like that, because no one's in there. No one's going to need to get in there, currently at least. So maybe bring it all into like a couple cabins instead of the whole ship.
So there's a lot of things you can do with that, and you can see that towards the top it's rooms or room by room basis as well.
And we're not saying this is how it's gonna be. This is just us theorizing on what it could, because some of this they've talked about, some of this they haven't. Okay, temperature control, target temperature, target pressure, select atmosphere, and pressure control. So that's all self-explanatory as well. Also, life support fill. Life support, current temperature, current pressure, O2 level, scrub temperature, scrub atmosphere, scrub pressure. You already talked about that earlier. CO2 level. CO2 level. CO2 is actually different.
Scrubbing.
Yeah.
That's what you'd be scrubbing out of the atmosphere. Make it breathable again. So people ask or have a conversation about why you'd want to do this or why you need this level of detail. Well, again, if you have limited O2 capabilities or limited scrubbing capabilities, limited stuff, maybe you don't want to use this immediately. Maybe you don't want to use this too much too fast. And like, for example, if you're operating on a short mission, this needs to be stealthy, that needs to have a very controlled condition, right? Then essentially you could turn off air filter, turn off the O2, use this oxygen in your suit, and that would decrease the amount of heat and exhaust and ventilation you're putting out, making your ship potentially harder to detect, right? I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to play with that. Let's say you don't want to need oxygen until you get back, right? Maybe you don't need oxygen until you get at a certain location. Maybe you just want to fill up the oxygen in your suits and not the oxygen in your ships. Like, for example, if it's cutting black and you're constantly loading up cargo, well, the back of the ship's going to be constantly open. You don't want to be constantly filling and emptying, filling and emptying, filling and emptying. You don't want to do that. Or if you're at Calliope, where it's cold, that may not be an option because it's cold as crazy there, and your suits, even inside of the ship, won't be able to handle it for long. So maybe you do want to maintain the atmosphere inside of the Cutting Black in that situation. So essentially what you're looking at is the UI to manage that, to do whatever special you need to do to match the mission you're trying to take care of, whatever you're trying to accomplish. These are almost like a sandbox tools. This is the UI for the sandbox tools that they're wanting to make for the game.
And for people that are worried about the complexity, CIG have come out and said that for the people that don't want to have to deal with the complexity of engineering and tuning and all that kind of stuff, and you just want to go out and do whatever, they said that the engineering is going to have the same effect that your car in real life would have to you currently. So just as the same as when something happens to your car now, you would probably, most people would probably go and bring it in and let a professional handle the problem, you know? So if you have a malfunction with your ship while you're out, you're probably going to bring it somewhere. If you, assuming you don't want to get into the nitty gritty of engineering, you would bring it to like a mechanic on a space station somewhere and have him take care of it. So either an NPC, or maybe there's going to be a gameplay for other players to come in and fix your ship for you that you could hire for a certain amount of price, you know. And so for the people that are worried about that, they have addressed it, saying that you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Yeah, so essentially, if you are willing to do it, you can get 10% more performance out of your ship,
Yeah.
10% better whatever in whatever situation you're in. So you'll be able to go a little bit further and do a little bit more complex things, and maybe maybe in an environment or in a way that ship wasn't necessarily designed to be able to do, right? But if you don't want to do that, you'll still be able to play the game on a day-to-day basis. It's
Yes.
just you'll be a little bit more limited in what your capabilities are, but those capabilities won't prevent you from being able to play the game, make your way in the verse.
Right.
And at the same time, if you still want to take advantage of the capabilities, there will be the option to go to an NPC at a station and say, "Do it for me."
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So the next things on the list here, it says item power usage, power, and then heat, and which you're gonna be able to, you're gonna have to manage your heat from different components and stuff, and your power output. So I would assume that more power to a component could potentially make it overheat, and you're gonna have to maintain that. So if you want more power to like your weapons, they could overheat, that kind of thing. So you're gonna have to play that game. Fuel usage. So you're gonna get some sort of UI showing you how much fuel, how much coolant usage you're gonna have. Life support info. It says controls affect all selected rooms at the same time. Data shown will show the average of each room. Use arrows to increase or decrease values. So yeah, self-explanatory there.
A UI hint, of course.
Yeah. Let's see. Target gravity, current gravity. So you're gonna have UI showing you the current gravity, amount of gravity in relation to Earth gravity, and the current amount of G's. And yeah, that's about it for that. This is all really good stuff, though. I cannot wait for this.
And one thing I did want to point out is a lot of the stuff we're seeing is probably stuff that was missed while they were trying to scrub the data for the build for the Evocati. Since so much of this stuff is actually in the build, this makes me feel like we may be seeing this sooner rather than later. As far as
I don't think it necessarily means we'll see it sooner.
Maybe an assumption, but it's for me it's hard to say that a lot of this stuff got past the scrub, this much of it, if it wasn't required for the gameplay. It may be.
I think they're testing it in Squadron 42, and that's the extent of it. This could be still a couple years away.
You're saying it may be a situation where, like for example, the weapons we have now that we've had for years, it's already modularized to the point where you can change the barrel out, right? So and there was a bug that was found about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, that they could use to intentionally break the servers, right? Where that gun's barrel can be changed out, but that gameplay isn't in the PU yet. But the function is, even if we can't use it, right? So we may be seeing the resource management and engineering coming into the game, even though we can't interact with it yet. So
yeah. So
that's what I'm guessing.
so it's confirmed too that, I mean, a lot of what you see when you data mine into the PU and all that, a lot of it is stuff. It has a function, but it's turned off, and sometimes you'll see that like highlight the stuff that's turned off. You'll see like highlighted in like a different color, that kind of thing.
Or it has a function and we just can't interact with it yet.
Yeah, it's there but invisible, and you can't really do anything with it. But yeah. So the next stuff here, and we're going into weapon charge and drain here, and we did come to the conclusion yesterday of this is probably referring to ship weapons and not handheld weapons, even though they've talked about like weapon wear and tear and that kind of thing with handheld weapons. I don't think I think it's a safe bet that this right here, this text, isn't talking about handheld weapons.
Oh, it could be.
It could.
Be weapons, and the reason why I say that is, I think majority of it is going to be ship weapons. Like for example,
some of this functionality could pertain to also handheld weapons.
So we discussed this, Joe. Is a cool idea. Is eventually bringing back the idea that they want to get rid of armistice zones. What happens if a ship, while it's at a pad in the current armistice zones, in the future where there is no armistice zones? What happens when that turret, when those ships, whatever, while they're connected, if you have a turret on a ship, it just has infinite weapon capabilities, right? It's connected to the power of the station of the whatever.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to use its capacitor to fire. It can just fire infinitely, because again, right. Charging, infinite charge, right? On grid charging, right? That could be something like that, where our ballista's on a pad, right? The Centurion's on a pad. The Centurion can just infinitely fire.
So
very similar to a station right now, right?
So to kind of clarify what to everybody, we're talking about the ability of like a ship landing somewhere and actually plugging its power into the station, so that way it's not currently using its own ship power. And that's something that we currently do today. When I was on a amphibious naval ship, and whenever we docked anywhere at any port, the first thing that we'd have to do is connect the ship to shore power, which we would lug these long cables, which would connect to our generators and to our switchboards and everything to the pier. That way we're not running on ship power. And I would assume that right here you could see it says UI weapons charge drain generator. So all this is pertaining to a generator, everything being plugged into like a generator, and the charging of draining pertaining to that generator. So yeah, so what Zuke is talking about is potentially being able to land your ship at a station and plugging into the station rather than running off of your ship generator.
And then on top of that, you see the battery charge, the charging, depleting, draining.
Yeah.
I could definitely see something similar to this for power plants. For if you could bring an extra power generator aboard a ship, or maybe deploy a generator, that it would do something similar, but maybe not as effective, right? There's a lot of things you can do. I think they even talked one time about having somebody with a backpack for that's a battery pack or generator, or that people could take their spent laser weapons batteries or clips and refill them at that generator. So it's possible. Again, it's been a couple years since they've mentioned it. I don't know if they're still planning on doing it, but this would kind of suggest that they're still, if they're going to this level of detail as far as power systems are concerned, it's still possible that they intend to do this, and this might be what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But based on the fact that it's like generator and on the grid in these terms,
Right.
instead of like refill or recharge, right? This feels more like ship weapons, and
Yeah, it does.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Why would a handheld weapon be on the grid and have to be connected to like a generator?
the one thing that I could think of that I could see using that phrase is if you had a handheld
It was like an energy
tractor beam
weapon.
weapon,
Yeah.
tractor beam weapon, right?
That had to
That
be
you're using
plugged
to
in.
load, yeah, that used to be load and unload cargo,
That's
right?
how you would overpower it, you know? It's
That's how
like,
you'd overpower it. That's how you'd infinitely use it to the tractor beam, but you can only use it at a station.
think about a handheld drill in real life, right? You could use one that has like a battery pack, which does the job for depending on how many volts
For a little while.
the battery is for a little. But yeah, it drains. But if you want the maximum amount of torque, you would use one that actually plugs into the wall. You know,
Yeah.
you would have
Or use it
unlimited
infinitely.
power.
If you're loading up a C2, you need a lot more power and a lot longer over long distances. So you'd want to hook up your handheld tractor beam if you're using it
Mhm.
to the station's plug-in
Yeah.
to the grid, right? And then now you could tractor beam until the job's done.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody inside of the ship is plugging their piece into the ship's grid. Who knows?
Now, right here, you do see at the bottom, I didn't see this before, it says weapons tractor overpower.
Mhm.
I didn't see that tractor part before. So,
That's kind of why I was suggesting the tractor beam piece of it.
okay. Yeah, it makes sense now. So you have so it says overpower. So the rest is charge drain, or referring to something with charge drain. So you have the ability to see the amount of volts that is being applied. Electrical current?
That's my guess.
Electrical current, maybe. Status. Actually, I think status right here is referring to electrical current and volts. I think those two are the statuses.
Actually, that's more along the lines of the generator piece. Is it on or not? Because remember, they did say there's multiple stages. So priming,
well,
ready. So the status of the generator could be primed. Status of the generator could be
look
priming.
right here. It has the what is that fucking called? I'm an idiot. Yeah, a colon. A colon, right? I'm an idiot with grammar. It has a colon, so I'm assuming that everything underneath it is pertaining to that, right? So right here you see electrical current. You see generator, idle, on the grid, inoperable, that kind of thing, and you see status, which it would make sense that it would be the electrical current or volts would be like the status of those.
I would actually say it's above it because the electrical current. Because here's the thing, what is the electrical current doing? Could it be drain unavailable, draining available? Is it draining, drained, depleted, charging battery?
It could be.
I'm thinking probably above it, but or it could be had nothing to do with it, and it's just a list that they pulled that was in a random order from, whatever it is. Like that, for me, the status of a generator, like what would you use status of a grid for? The grid's just on, right? It's on or it's off. The status of a generator could very much be priming required, ready to go,
Yeah.
And they've mentioned before that they wanted, especially for the larger ships with the larger power plants, to have a similar, like, it's not just a hit power button and it's on, it's you have to go through the stages. That was part of the engineering resource game.
Right. Yeah, you could be right. And my favorite whole saying that it's my new thing, that once I heard it, I don't remember who said it, but once I heard it, I was like, that sums up Star Citizen perfectly in like CIG, is that and I'll probably beat this with a dead horse on like everything that I'm on, is whatever you can think of in your head that is a possibility with Star Citizen. So everything that we talk about today, no matter how far-fetched it is, the frustrating thing about it is that it is a possibility, right? So this could also be the possibility. There is a possibility that everything that we talk about that to us makes sense, and you would think would be it. This could maybe not pertain to anything that we're talking about. So that's the frustrating thing about Star Citizen is that everything is possible. So it's impossible to actually be accurate with your guesses for the most part. But it doesn't mean it's not going to stop us from having fun, at least trying. So, but yeah, I'm excited. All of this right here, I could talk about forever. But yeah, anyway, draining, unavailable, available. You have draining, drain, depleting, charging, charge, battery, jammed, and broken. So those are the 2 warnings. So yeah, I think all this will be fun gameplay. I think within Star Citizen, my most exciting game loop is going to be engineering for sure. That's going to be my bread and butter, I think. So I can't wait to dive deep into this and start getting into spreadsheets and like figuring out the best combination to do things and make sure that something is running in the best possible condition it could possibly be in. Getting the most out of it by overclocking it as much as I can without hurting, or maybe just bring it to the brink of it, completely just going to shit. That kind of thing. But yeah. Go ahead and move on to the next thing here. So new contract manager app. So I guess they're going to be kind of redoing some of it. We don't know what it's going to look like. But right here it says the main tab. You're going to have the accepted, beacons, history, and offers, which there's nothing really too different about that. You're going to have a quick sort button. You're going to be able to see the reward. You're going to be able to search. It says search for things like names or rewards. The interesting thing about this, though, is the illegal mode. This is the biggest part about that. The biggest change, I think, is what is that going to mean? Is this going to tie into the new reputation system? Because they have expressed recently how they don't want just anybody or any new player to have access to illegal missions right off the bat. It doesn't make any sense, and they want it to be tied to the reputation system. So for there to be an illegal mode, they haven't talked about this yet, but it's going to be interesting on how this is actually going to function. And
is it always there? Do you have to unlock it? Like, do you have to is the illegal mode always there, and you don't have anything there until you've communicated with Twitch in person?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that you can do. Is it possible that the illegal mode doesn't work while you're in an armistice zone or while you're near a station?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have to get away from a station a bit ways to be able to access illegal mode. There's a lot of things there that we don't know, but it's at this point in time, it's clear that they're moving in that kind of direction.
Yeah. And I think my favorite guess that we came up with yesterday, which I hope they implement this, where you would have possibly be given from like a mission giver a hacked Mobiglass, which would have the illegal mode on it. And and when versus if you bought a new Mobiglass from the that store from Microtech that sells them. I forgot what they're called. I think, is it called the Vision Center, or is that
something like that? Yeah, it's something similar to that because they also sell the contact lenses.
Yeah, and the SIM pods and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so that's a cool idea actually, where you could sit there and basically you'd have one Mobiglass you'd have that would have the illegal mode, But if
Yeah.
you're going to go to a really nice area, new Babbage, where you're going to be scanned through security, maybe you don't want to be wearing that movie glass. Maybe you want to be wearing another movie glass that you bought that is perfectly fine and legitimate with no legal mode.
Yeah.
Leave that one on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. So something else that I want to point out too, this is different. Now, this could also mean, so right here, it says view, accept, and create contracts. Is create contracts the same thing as creating a beacon? Or is this different? Can you create your own contract for something? Is that...
I would say for the purposes of this UI, basically a UI type of situation here, I would say probably the same. But it would be so cool if they
Why would
expanded on that.
Oh, right here. My bad. It says create new beacon, and right here it says create contracts. So they're two completely different things. Now, what would that...
Then there isn't, because here's my thing. There's a create new beacon option. If they were separate, I feel like there'd be a create new contract.
It could be the same, because right here it does say view. So maybe you create a beacon, and when you want to view that beacon, it would come up as, you know, view created contract or something.
Because like, seriously, accepted beacons go into the accepted contracts tab.
That could they could be relating to the same thing. Yeah.
So
yeah.
There may be a distinction in the future, but there's not a distinction now.
If this is in order of how they would appear, which I don't know if that's how it works. It might not be. You would, to me, it kind of makes sense that you would be able to view it, and then it would bring you to the contracts, and then you would be able to create a new beacon, and then then you would get into all this other stuff. But I could be wrong, but I don't know if it's in order or not. But yeah, that's cool.
Not to leap too far from me, but I could see that maybe.
Maybe. But the illegal mode, that's cool. That's the one thing I really...
Well, they did say they don't want you to have access to it just out of the gate, and they want you falling into the illegal career path, if you will, more naturally.
Yeah.
Not as just like I choose.
It has to be your decision. Yeah. You have to progress. You know, it's just like in the real world. You're not going to like wake up one day and be like, I'm going to be a professional drug dealer, you know, and instantly be a professional drug dealer. You got to work for it. It takes time and effort, and you got to grind, you know, you got to gain recognition, you know.
Ooh.
So
here's an idea. What if there's a movie glass that's on the arm of, say, like a Ninetales captain or a Ninetales commander or just Ninetales NPC? You pick it up and put it on, and now... And no, not if you take it. Now you have access to their stuff.
You could pretend to be them.
Yeah, you could pretend to be a Ninetales person.
Yeah.
And basically, you'd go down there and like, we know you're not them, but since you're here, blah blah blah. Or you could use that to like get intel on what they're doing and go kill them.
And you could use that Moby Glass to gain access to their account and essentially hack their bank account. You know?
And that's very similar to like the bounty hunting 2.0, because they talked about the NPCs will be moving around. There's not going to be like that god icon over them all the time anymore. Right. So tools like this you could use to figure out what they're at, what they're doing. Yeah. I thought.
And
that may be a bit of a stretch, but
to go down the rabbit hole a little bit further, Elliot and his team, they've talked about in the past ISCs when it came to the modularity of the mission system and how far they wanted to take it. They've talked about investigation missions going as far as being able to get, kind of like be Batman, where you gather evidence on, like if you're trying to find somebody specifically and you're trying to figure out what happened to them, you would they would give you coordinates. You would start off with getting the coordinates to maybe where their hab is on New Babbage. You'd go there, or a Grimhex. Go to their hab, and maybe see like a data pad, and it kind of gives you like a hint of where they went next, and then you'd kind of follow the breadcrumbs. And if they could work that in with the mobiGlas, and doing a little bit more digging into them as a person and what they've done, so could be all wrapped up into the same stuff. So they expressed interest in that, and it doesn't mean it's gonna happen. They were just kind of like spitballing what could happen, and what they. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to get into some hacking, and this is exciting too, because this is our first glimpse into what the hacking minigame is actually going to look like and the controls for it. So looking at these controls here, we can really kind of get I think the closest image that we've ever had to what it could look like. And it's almost reminiscent of what we already have in other games when it comes to mini games for hacking into like a system, or something that has to do with like pipes or something like that. Because what you see here is you see capture node, you see ping, swap node, rotate swap node, exit hacking, rotate board, and move. So there's
the things you want to keep in mind for context is when they've talked about the hacking in the past, they've always wanted a attacking hacker and the option for a defending hacker.
Right.
So this is going to be some kind of mini game that people can play against each other.
Yeah.
Right, to accomplish the hack, and you're going to be able to specifically target different parts of a ship, shields, quantum drive, engines, door access, on and on and on and on and on, right? So there'll probably be some balance of how many nodes or objects are you attacking,
right,
or going through, right? How many are you hitting? How fast are you hitting them? Maybe your hacking device is a powerful one and can have a massive DDoS attack, right?
Yeah.
But if you split it up between every node of a ship, then it might be very easy to counter you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or to deny it. Whereas if you want to focus it on just a few devices, that may be harder to, maybe even impossible to counter. But at least the person who owns the ships will get a feel for what your plan is.
And the hacking gameplay can stack on top of other malfunctions within the ship. So you're going to have to prioritize which one do you handle first, which one do you handle at all, and which one do you ignore. You're going to have to make those priorities. So for example, if you're like in a caterpillar and you're being attacked by a pirate group, and let's say they've been shooting at you for a little bit at a specific part of your ship, and that specific part of your ship starts catching on fire, and it's slowly the fire is slowly spreading through other compartments within your ship. And also they have what's the boarding hacking ship?
The Legionnaire.
The Legionnaire. They also have a Legionnaire where they're actively hacking your ship as there's a fire going on in your ship, and you're getting alerts for both at the same time, and you're gonna have to figure out what's more important in the moment, or do you have enough crew to handle both at the same time? And they, like you were saying, they could attack multiple different nodes on different components at the same time. So they could affect like your cooling, and they could affect like your quantum drive or something while there's a fire happening. So there's a lot going on there.
Maybe they're attacking life support, and there's a fire going through, right? And if there's a fire going through, like let's say they're attacking life support and door access, and there's a fire going through your ship, you would just simply say, okay, fine, I don't care if they hack life support. We need to vent oxygen anyways.
I have a suit. Everybody has a suit on, so we don't need O2.
Yeah, we don't need O2, so I'm not even going to bother defending life support.
And if they take out life support, that'll take out the fire along with it. It takes out the fuel for the fire. So those are the things you got to think about too. Is will them hacking into your life support benefit you versus the fire? You know, so you can pull your crew off the fire and help you fight that hacking gameplay. Maybe let them hack into that specific node for life support, but you fight the hacking for other components.
Mm-hmm.
So, not saying that's how it's going to be, but I can definitely see them going that route with how complex this seems. Now, in one of the out of the 5 abilities that they show here, one of them is slow down DDoS. Go ahead and explain DDoS to everybody.
So a DDoS is basically a denial of service attack, and it's essentially a. I want to step back for a second and say, imagine if 100,000 people went into your local Walmart at one time, not to buy, not to shop, just go into it and stand. That Walmart would no longer function. That's kind of what the DDoS is. It's a denial of service. You're going in there and just saying hi so many times that it cannot communicate with anything else because it's just overwhelming what it can do.
Much like the servers.
Much like the servers.
The delay on the servers.
Very much so.
You're causing a 30K on the components.
So when that C2 buys 696 SCUs, it's like, stop DDoSing the servers, man. Come on. But anyway, so right here, essentially a DDoS, it's an ability for the minigame. It's probably something you would either apply to your opponent and its movement speed, its user interface movement speed, or its ability to affect a node movement speed. You're probably DDoSing them briefly, right? And it's not going to be a very powerful DDoS. You can tell that they're taking inspiration from actual hacking, although it's not really one-to-one. I don't think there's going to be 1,000 nodes or 100,000 nodes or 1 million nodes.
No, that'd just be overwhelming. That'd be too much.
To DDoS a ship in the middle of nowhere, I think it's just like a generic term that makes you feel like you're actually hacking. So it's like, it's close. It feels natural. It feels like you're doing, but, you know,
from what it looks like,
because I have the IT background, I know this isn't what it is. If you have like a naval engineering background and you look at the ship's systems, you're like, that's not quite how it works, but it's close. And that's sort of how it feels like to me. It's like, this is them getting it close. It's still gamified, but it's close. And they're using the terms, and they're probably going to use the UI. It's gonna feel very realistic for somebody who this isn't their area of expertise.
It with what we see here, kind of what my brain is picturing when I think of other hacking mini games in other games, and they've said it's going to be kind of similar to other mini games in other games. That's why I bring that up. When they talked about mini games for any sort of system within Star Citizen, they've always kind of gave it they would always talk about other games and how they did it. So with the limited functionality here, you know, you see here it says you have a camera control for rotating the board. So it looks like you're going to have one board that has multiple nodes on it. However many nodes, it might depend on how hard. There might be different levels of hardness for that specific board or different boards depending on which one you're hacking. There's going to be multiple nodes. There's either going to be more or less. You're going to be able to swap between those nodes. You're going to be able to ping, and you're going to have the ability to slow down the attack. Essentially, your hack into that board, and hacking those nodes. So, and then you're also going to have the ability to move. I'm not sure what you're moving. Maybe you're moving
cursor.
The cursor over which one you might want to inject, or maybe where you would want to ping.
Interact with.
interact with. Right? Yeah, that's what I mean. So you'd move something, possibly inject into a node. There might be something or some reason why you might want to slow down your attack onto that node. There's going to be the ability to swap the nodes, rotate the nodes, and then exit the hack. So it seems fairly simple. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard. It really depends, I think, on the person on the other side who's countering that hack. It probably depends on the time in which they respond, because you're going to be, it's probably going to go faster if they don't interject into your hacking. Like if they get it kind of late, like at the tail end, it's probably going to be too late. You know, I can't imagine them being able to counter it that fast if you're like 3/4 of the way done. But if you're like halfway done or like a quarter of the way done, I feel like the person trying to stop the hack probably has a good chance of stopping you. But I mean,
also keep in mind there may be a difference between, you know, you may not be able to stop the hack, but once it's completed, if you continue to play, the defender may be able to undo the hack. Well, let's say a boarding team is, taking control of a door access, and the defenders, come online for the counter hacking, like when they're 90% done. It's like, okay, cool. They may not be able to stop the hack, but as soon as that's done and that hacker leaves the hacking screen, now the attacker's no longer attacking. They could work on restoring it.
Right.
They could work on undoing the hack.
But that's going to play a part in that short window that the pirates or whoever's trying to board would board. So they'd be like, okay, so get to it, everybody. We're on the clock. We got 20 seconds. Before minimum before they or maximum before they actually get the door up and running again.
And there's nothing else. Do you want to have crew that is for physical security? Do you want to have crew that's for hacking security? Do you want to have crew that is for O2 and medical stuff? You got to sort of balance that. Again, it goes back to the choices you make. You open up the hacking terminal and it's 90% done, and they're targeting engines and doors. They're not targeting anything else. Okay, what do you do now? Do you try to hack? Do you go put a suit on? Do you go get weapons and leave and stay in civilians that you're in, or in the flight suit that you're in, right? Or do you grab weapons and head down to the door they're trying to hack?
Yeah.
Or do you get near it? That balance is okay. What do you do? How do you counter it? Going back to the sandbox gameplay, this is really encouraging that this is basically making it into the game either so inherently that it's already there, even if we don't have the UI for it, or even if we don't have the ability to match with it yet.
Yeah.
But it's at least in Squadron 42. We know that for a fact now, and it's parts of it's making it into the PU. So it's got to be stable enough to at least be part of a core system.
Control hints are the new thing that was put in, to 318 or 319. I can't remember which one. And the fact that you actually have control hints for this, at least for the attacker's side. I'm assuming this is the attacker side. I feel like that would mean that it's pretty far ahead, within the whole implementation phase. So, like you were saying, we don't have the other side of this yet. As far as like the defending UI control hints, because I would assume they would have a little bit of a different
I bet not.
UI probably. You don't think so?
No, this could be both.
Maybe that's what the ability slow down would be. Maybe the hacker wouldn't have that ability, but that would be the defending. Maybe the ping and the slow down. Maybe you would ping to try to figure out what node they're trying to capture, and then you would slow it down.
If the attackers had captured all the nodes, right, you would essentially have to hack it back into your control.
Okay.
So I think the UI, the hacking game would be probably pretty similar on both sides.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that's a possibility. Yeah, we'll have
So
to
let's
we'll have to see.
so let's say you're doing it, and all of a sudden you're getting ready for a boarding action. You don't know that anyone's hacking your ship, and all of
Mm.
a sudden the door is open, but not through gunfire, but or like carrying down a door, but through they just open. Now your pilot's sitting there over comm saying, "Hey, we just lost control of the turrets. We just lost control of the ship controls. We just lost this, that, and other." Like shit. Now we have to hack it back. We have
I
to.
I just
Now
thought of
you're no longer operating and defending a ship that you control. You're operating and defending a ship that they control.
yeah. I I have I just kind of thought of like a funny situation that could happen potentially, and that's let's say both ships, the attacker and the defending ship, both of them has the ability to hack. They're different ships, but they have the ability to hack. They could both hack each other's doors. So while the attacker is trying to unlock their door, the defender's door, the defenders are trying to keep the attacker's door locked so they can't board. So and they keep flip-flopping, right? Yeah, I see that as a possible situation depending on, I don't know how
That
they're
would
going
be
to
funny.
implement it yet. I think that would be absolutely hilarious, and it'd be a great way to troll your attackers.
Yeah,
So
I would agree with that.
that yeah, that's kind of funny, you know. Or you could, as they're trying to hack into your door systems, door controls, you can hack into their life support, and maybe if they're not wearing suits yet, then maybe they're you know, their guys are in the process of putting on their suits to board. You could take their life support offline and
Well,
kill
back to the engineering gameplay.
kill their crew. So
The
yeah,
the engineering gameplay could be one of the nodes. The engineering controls could be one of the nodes.
it could be. It could be. Yeah.
Like, oh, they're attacking our engineering node. We really need to put on suits now because if we lose this, we're gonna lose our oxygen.
Yeah. All right. I think it's a good time to move on. All right, so we're getting into some of the lesser important stuff, but still kind of cool. Right here is the description of 3 new helmets, presumably subscriber for Halloween. Now, I don't like the idea of these being subscriber helmets. I want this to be tied in with the actual event, where you would have to go find this helmet, much like they did in the past, or you earn it like the Vandal helmet. You know, maybe not find it, but you earn it through the event. But if the assumptions of this being a subscriber helmet are correct, then I think it's gonna be kind of cool. So you have the Lost Plague helmet, explosive orange, biohazard blue, radioactive yellow, and we'll move on here. This is supposedly what it looks like. I think this is pretty badass. So it's like a containment suit. It'd be nice to have an actual suit to go along with this, not just a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we already have a helmet in game, the parasite helmet. I don't know what it's called, but it's got like the parasite coming out of it. You have the one that's coming out of like the human, like it has flesh still attached, and then you have one with a skull that I think it's broken. But yeah, this, I like the design of it. I think it'll look cool. And then you got the backside here. That I should probably zoom in for you guys, but yeah, those kind of cool. I like it. I approve. Some more sub flare. Presumably sub flare. Now this has been something that was leaked as well in the past couple rounds of leaks from the Pipeline Discord, which I think I covered these. I might not have. I remember seeing it, but I can't remember if I included it in my video because I might not have thought that this was worth covering. But it's just different types of die. So you have plushies of the die for some reason. So you have like the blue, green, and red plushie of the 20-sided die. You have the twin is same thing, but not a plushie, like a real die. Then you have a 6-sided, it says rotating die. So maybe, I don't know what they mean by rotating, but
My guess is probably similar to the Banu.
the
Banner.
Thalo, yeah, the Banu Thalo, yeah, it's it could be, yeah. But for anybody that likes that kind of stuff, there it is. This Zuke is what I brought up that we actually missed yesterday when we were talking about this ourselves. It's the one thing. So Zuke doesn't think it's that crazy, but I love it. It's the janitor. The janitor is mentioned in here. So right here it says potentially trash, description, an object which once dropped by the player will be marked as trash for the janitor behavior to pick up and bin. I personally just think, like, CIG have described how they want this, you know, in the game, but this is the first time I'm actually seeing evidence of it actually being physical. It is just a description, though. It's not actual code for anything, but it's just a description for something, and it's just marking trash that a player leaves behind. But I think it's cool. Also, along with this, you got some pretty cool stuff that I want to get your opinion on, Zuke. So you have it says area closed name, radar, deep scan, and this could be the FPS radar, maybe.
I would probably say no. What my inclination is basically like the Carrick's supposed to have a really deep scan, and if you saw the mash modes in CitizenCon, right, you have the ability to ping and do a really long distance like ping, if you will, from a ship. And they showed where you had a cluster of objects that were 20, 30, 40,000 kilometers away, that you could like see that there was something there that wasn't empty, right? There was something there. You couldn't tell if it was a ship, an asteroid cluster. You couldn't tell what it was, but you saw that there was something there, and you could then use master modes to jump to it, right?
Okay.
And to sort of investigate.
So that's a good possibility, yeah.
That's kind of what I got from this, is just them implementing what they quasi showed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So we there's nothing else about that, so I'll move on, because it's just kind of it's some sort of deep scan for radar or something. Below that, I'm not sure if all three of these lines are or if these two lines right here have anything to do with this buddy description. I think it's separate, but it says chaser override and jouster override. It almost seems like
this is like AI commands.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, you would tell them to either chase or joust a certain target, maybe. And it also, because it's kind of tied with this right here where it says buddy description used by buddy AI to control buddy AI specific behavior. So the chase and the jouster override could be a part of that AI specific behavior.
You know, how aggressive are you telling your buddy AI to be?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you telling them just to keep them busy and we'll get back to them? Don't be too aggressive. Or are you telling them to be a chaser, just like go in there, don't ever stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hyper aggressive.
Yeah. So that's gonna be really cool whenever that becomes an actual thing. Along with that, they've CIG have expressed how they're never gonna let an AI pilot your ship, be the captain of your ship, but you're gonna have the ability to, you're gonna have essentially like a command list for all the AI like on your ship and stuff like that. Have different, AI specific behavior there. Uh,
And this is one of those things that could legitimately be Squadron 42 only, because we do know for a fact there will be AI piloted ships that will be under your command
mhm.
in Squadron 42. So this is one of those things where it could legitimately be Squadron 42 only.
Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be. Right here, it says vehicle description for storing all tags related to vehicles for AI to use in logic. Seats description for categories of vehicles, of vehicle. Driver description to tag up explicitly an operator seat as a driver seat for AI to use to find. Now this could just be kind of like something that we already have with the AI the AI system that we have where they're actually flying. This could just be the descriptions of defining descriptions for the AI to recognize like the driver's seat or the passenger seat, that kind of thing. But the interesting thing was the personnel carrier description to tag up explicitly vehicles used to transport AI for AI to use to find. But well, we actually already have that. Like the Cutlass Black for the Ninetales. They actually have AI that they transport around for reinforcements. So
I would specify a difference between a dropship, ship, and a personnel carrier ship.
That's still technically a personnel carrier. And like anything that carries personnel is a personnel carrier to the general definition of it.
I mean, you're right, but as far as the game code is concerned, I could see them distinguishing the difference there.
Mm-hmm.
And one is basically a personnel carrier has an interior whose oxygen is safe from being depleted. So, for example, the Cadet Black couldn't be that.
Okay, it could. I mean, in that case, I would hope that this would have to do with possible gameplay for transporting AI.
Yeah, transport missions.
That would be great. I would absolutely love that to be
the E1, the Gemini, and so on.
Yeah. But again, this could all be stuff for Squadron. Let's see. Oh yeah, this was exciting. So it says security.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah, security token. Token fail reasons: has weapon, wrong outfits, access is not granted, not dressed appropriately. Now we already have the. I mean, we have like this is completely different from this, but like right now with like armistice zones, we have like you can't like equip your weapon. But this is implying that there is a specific place that you can't have access to because either you have the wrong outfit on, you're not dressed appropriately, which this whole not dressed appropriately, it's almost like the same kind of rules that you would have with like a really high end like nightclub, or like the what is it, the chairman club access, where you would have to dress like high,
like for example,
high scale.
Would they want to let you on the metro loop if you're fully kitted out in armor?
The metro loop? Hell yeah.
Probably not, actually.
What do you mean? First off, in public transportation, you can wear whatever you want, and there is such a thing as
they may not allow full bottle rattle.
Well, I can understand maybe not weapons because it does say has weapon or whatever. I can understand maybe like having a weapon on you that's not appropriate. Because some areas, what is it? Hurston doesn't like lore wise they don't allow weapons, right? Something like that. I don't know, but some places allow weapons, some places don't.
Stored in your personal hangar or in a hangar that you're renting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go into the rest of the city, at least in like a lower level, like light armor or maybe flight suit or civilians. Then all right, maybe you have to do that.
Well, when you Y-
properly, or they're not allowed because your reputation isn't high enough, or the wrong outfit. If you're, I don't know,
I could see this
you're
being a
wearing.
thing. This could either be a thing like in stuff like uh the chairman club places, or this could be like at the checkpoints that we see at the spaceports. This popping up where maybe you don't have access through the spaceport if you have like your weapon on you, or like you
Or they're
said,
naked.
not yeah, like if you're naked, go put an undersuit on, buddy. Um, yeah, not dressed appropriately. Yeah, so there. Also, this could potentially be tied into some sort of reputation system.
Mhm.
And I brought this up earlier before the podcast, is that Elliot brought up on a recent episode of ISC how he, or no, not ISC, he was in like a Salty Mike chat on his live stream, and he said you should wait and see, you should see like what we're doing with rep at the moment. Somewhere along those lines. He said something a little bit different than that, but he said that currently they're working on some pretty crazy stuff for rep. And I could see that tying into stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know?
And that goes back to where I was like pointing at. Like, you may not, and the checkpoints for the PU, if they don't add any more, is in between the starport and the metro loop. So that's where this would be. That's kind of where this check would happen. So at the starport, you'd be able to have armor, potentially weapons, all this stuff, right? You'd have access to all that stuff, right? But when you go from starport to basically the hospital, to the rest of the city, to
you wouldn't bring a gun
commons,
into the hospital.
No, you wouldn't go full battle rattle into that. You would change it out.
Yeah.
Right? This is where you'd be, okay, you're looking for light armor, maybe just a flight suit, right? Or civilians. And like, for example, even civilians, if you're dressed up as Ninetales with Ninetales civilian gear, clothing,
Okay.
like, Ninetales isn't welcome here.
To
Go away.
hold on. To kind of back you up on the whole armor, like certain armor isn't accepted in certain places. Point. In the future, CIG want armor to have components that you would switch in and out with, and you would customize your armor based on what the types of functionality that you would want, or you would use different types of armor for different functionality that you would want. It's gonna have a certain amount of battery that your armor is gonna have, that kind of thing. You're gonna have certain types of radar capabilities, this, that, and the other, that possibly would be harmful or maybe infringe on people's privacy within a certain landing zone, that they're like, no, you do not need to deep scan people at the goddamn spaceport. Don't be in the hospital deep scanning people, or
Exactly.
there could be other battle functionalities that you wouldn't want, or they wouldn't want you to have access to.
And the definition of has weapon, has wrong outfit, access not granted, and not just appropriately would be different per station. If you go to Grim Hex, they probably don't give a shit if you have a weapon. At Grim Hex, they probably
Well,
the
they
wrong
don't have
outfit
checkpoints. They don't have checkpoints at all. Right?
They have security though. They don't have checkpoints.
They have
do
security,
security.
but you don't have to go
But
through
if
anything.
you walk in there with UEE armor on,
unless you stole
they may
it.
have a problem with.
Unless you stole it.
Well, here's the thing: if the NPC is just looking at you, they wouldn't know if it's stolen or not. It's like
they might come up to you
it might be
check your
reversed.
rep.
If you go into if that might be a trigger for you to have a scan by local ones. If you go into Pyro and you walk into one of these Pyro stations that's controlled by Ninetales or by Xenothreat, and you wearing UE armor, they may have a serious issue with you immediately.
So
just like if you're wearing Ninetales gear and you're walking into Microtech.
Now I'm not saying this is going to come over to the PU. I hope it does, but they showed off in Squadron 42. I think it was last year when they showed off the player going through Osiedo Station, I believe. They had like a system, like a stealth system where you would get discovered, or like a suspicious thing. I could see them integrating that within the PU, where if you do go to get Grim Hex, and let's say you are wearing like a UEE armor, they see that and you would see like a little suspicious marker. Maybe they start working towards you and start questioning you, and you would have to show credentials or explain somehow, or show them your rating system, you know, be like, no, look at my rep, you know, I'm hip with Clovis. Don't worry. You know,
I'm hip with Clovis. Nice.
Yeah, put that on a shirt and sell it. My roommate has one of those crickets. I'm gonna make a custom shirt that says that and wear it to CitizenCon. But yeah, I think that kind of like wraps up that portion of this. That's very exciting, that little line there. I can't believe we missed this, because this, to me, the bottom here, the whole thing about the AI and this here, the implications of possibly wearing the wrong outfit or having a weapon is really cool. But moving on. Some people might find this cool. Interactions. We have 3 different interactions here. The restraints are nothing new. So you have restrain and unrestrained. So that's associating with bounty hunting gameplay, or you're just being a butthole to somebody. And the other interesting one here that people probably see, it says pet. So I'll let you guys come up with what you think that means. Whether we get pets, which was a stretch goal, and we did talk about earlier. It was an original stretch goal.
Boy.
Where you could have a pet. But whether you're actually like petting something or you're interacting in general with a pet, I don't know. This could just be like, you know, we have those, I don't know what what are they called? The stone bugs that we currently have. They kind of like, you find them in sand caves and their legs kind of wiggle a little bit. They might animate.
We know probably dogs are already in the 42 game. So you know that's a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing. You knew that was a thing.
No. What I know, we all know clearly.
No. Okay. That's not how that works.
So when what they want to got an idea for it. This is just me thinking this is cool. Who wants the ability to pet the whole of their ship? I'm the only one that wants to put my hand out my saber and be like, that's my saber.
You know what I want? Along with that, we're going to need another interaction called, it's going to have to be a set of interactions called dad interactions, where you're going to have to kick the tire of your landing gear. Be like, yeah, that's a good landing gear. Yep. That's good. That's going to be a part of maintenance gameplay. That's going to have to be the final step of your maintenance on fine-tuning something. You're going to have to kick it and be like, yeah, there you go. Good to go.
That's approved.
Yeah. That'll happen when you hit the confirm button or apply button for anything. You're going to have to kick it. So, but yeah, who knows what this means? I'm sure everybody's gonna like it though, for whatever that is, for whatever creature this is gonna end up being for, or your ship, not necessarily creature, your ship, or fellow org mates. Maybe you might be able to pet them. Who knows? But yeah, okay.
Boy, you're doing such a good job. Good job.
That's gonna be the payment for crew members is pets. Pay them in pets. That's a little cringe, so maybe not do that. But okay, so supposedly some subscriber med guns, 4 different colors: yellow, red, purple, and gray. I know you had something in particular You had a particular opinion
Normally,
about this?
subscriber stuff comes in 3. This is coming in 4. So maybe I'm not necessarily convinced that it's subscriber stuff.
It's not
just maybe just for
necessarily 3
variety.
every time, no.
It's almost always 3, but there are exceptions. I'm saying like it's odd that it's coming in 4s and not in 3s. So it may be something else, but I would still say more than likely subscribers.
Yeah. So, this is going to be the first time, whether we see this or not, I don't know. There has been a lot of like ship paints that have been leaked that we've never seen. That ship paints that I saw leaked that were the leaks are 3 years old, and I still haven't seen them. They haven't been released or anything. So I don't know why they would do that, but I guess they have them on the back burner for events and stuff in the future. Yeah, hopefully we see it. It'd be nice to have different colored med guns because we don't have those yet. But that's it though. We covered all the leaks. It's about 3 hours. 3 hours of leak coverage there, guys.
It'll be heavily edited down.
Nah, no, it'll be put in there. I will put in what do you call it? I will put in timestamps. There you go. I'll be putting in timestamps so everybody will be able to skip to their favorite parts. That if you just want to know about multi-crew gameplay or engineering gameplay, there you go.
Shitload of leaks, man.
Yeah, and at first it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of some of it, it's pretty. I think me and you, we get pretty deep in some of this stuff too. So a little bit deeper than some people out there. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed this deep dive into the leaks that have just come out. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, I will be putting out a shorter, more condensed, compact version of this as a separate thing. So if you would rather watch something in like a 5-minute or less video, go for that. Or if you guys, like this kind of thing, feel free to watch all 3 hours. That's fine. I will not complain there. So once again, I want to say thanks to everybody who has stuck around and watched some of this and hung out with us. And we will see you next time. We have a podcast on Sundays also called Snowbird's Meeting Room. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you might like that one too. We will be talking essentially everything else but leaks. And that'll be with our other good friend, Shadow Spectre 11. So catch us for that tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Fly safe in the first, gentlemen.